So yeah, the deposit contract was upgraded. It's a bit cheaper because of the MGNO deprecation. The Gnosis deposit UI was also updated, and we did the tests, so everything works as expected. But while doing the upgrade, so now it's not possible anymore to use MGNO for deposits and only GNO, which means that we broke a few tools in the process, and that's kind of, I mean, it is entirely our fault because, well, I did talk about this with partners who had, well, who needed to update, but we didn't keep them in the loop enough, and then yeah, it ended up not, well, they ended up not being ready for this, which again is our fault. So we broke the Gnosis builders, deposit UI as well, actually, and the gateway launchpad. But yeah, they all know about it and are working on fixing this, so it should be fine, hopefully. We also broke the deposits for DApp nodes, which is like the free for GNO if you buy a DApp node, because they also deposit MGNO instead of GNO. But again, we are already working with them on that. I think Lion maybe has more information. The liquid staking from Anchor is also broken, but I mean, they have like, well, there's basically no TVL inside there, so it's not that big of an issue. Of course, we're still going to get this fixed, but yeah. Same for Stakewise, but they know about it, and it doesn't change anything until V3 deploys, which is not until end of August, so it doesn't really matter at this point. And the Notice Builders one, which I already mentioned. So for Chapella, well, the outwork is in a few days at this point, in 5 days, I guess, or 6, I'm not sure. And we are going to do like, those watch parties, I guess, like for mainnets, which is going to be streamed on I think, Discord, maybe Twitter and YouTube. And the call is going to happen on Zoom. So, question, who wants to join, basically?
All right, so just a quick question. You set up a live streaming on a Discord, right?
So the call will happen on Zoom, and then it will be live streamed to YouTube and Discord, I think.
All right, so we'll join definitely because we already created a meeting on our calendar. Okay, but we're going to cancel it, then we'll join your one.
Were you going to do like an event as well, or what do you mean?
No, it's not even like a monitoring call.
Oh, okay. Okay, so who should we send invites to? Like the entire Nethermind team, or I mean, the guys present here, or only specific people?
I would say guys who are like on this call invited.
Okay.
Not sure everyone will join. Marek probably won't. Not sure about Kamil, Marcin, Daniel, but I probably will. Marcos will join. Marcos, I don't know if he will join, but Ruben will join. Maybe Marcos, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Carlos.
I guess I'm just going to invite anyone who's invited to this call as well, and then we'll see. But all that to say, yeah, so of course you're all invited. Please come. It's also good to have some online presence, I guess, in that regard. So, yeah. Of course, everything will be organized by us, so it should not be too big of not be a problem. Although, if we have like some specific Grafana metrics or terminals or whatever, we would like to have a look at, that would be nice. I'm sure. I mean, at Nethermind, you have some metrics. I know Lion has some as well. We have some, so it might be good to kind of organize around this and have everything available to quickly look at them. But yeah, I'll follow up on that one offline. Okay, and then so I talked about this quickly, I think a few weeks ago. So for block building, I'm looking into that again for Gnosis. And basically the question is, can we do it with Nethermind or Erigon at this time, as those other YAML clients we have right now. So for Nethermind, as I understand it, there is some functionality built in, but it's not updated for Chapella, as far as I got it. And it's also not entirely compatible with MEV Relay. Does anyone have more information about that?
Can you define block building? You mean like building a block and sending it to the relay?
Yes.
So I added some code to that at some point of time, like a year ago, and I'm not sure if it's up to date, and I haven't touched it since. So it would be, so we can definitely make it work, but we would need testing and tracking, right? So it would need dev time potentially.
Right. So I think I looked at the implementation a bit, and basically the format that, I mean, between the relay and Nethermind for how the block should be sent changed a bit with Chapella, and I think Nethermind hasn't updated that part.
Okay, so updating that might not be too hard. So
yeah,
we could
hopefully.
probably just update it.
Because, I mean, right now all the builders are based on Geth, basically, and that doesn't work with Gnosis, so it's a bit of a problem. And I don't think Erigon has any like block building capabilities. Well, I mean, to forward it to a relayer. Maybe Sumnat, is that the right pronunciation, has more information.
So Ruben, is it something you could look into?
I'll try. Are we gonna do this before hard fork?
No.
You mean it's something for a future?
Yeah, just, I mean, we're just getting, I mean, we're just starting to look into this a bit, but not before the hard fork. I mean, that's impossible.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Just let's pass the hard fork successfully, and then we can.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. It's just, I mean, now that the hard fork is basically out of our hands, I'm starting to look into other things again. So that's kind of one of our next projects. So yeah, but it's definitely not like super important right now. So Erigon, do you have like something that could support this right now?
Well, I'm not sure. I will check if it's working. Maybe let you know.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Post it on the group.
Awesome. All right. So regarding client updates, I guess I also added the questions here. But for Nethermind, so we have this issue with fetching events. So it get locked basically, which I posted, I think, on Telegram on the Nethermind channel. So there's an issue when you're fetching locks on a contract that hasn't emitted locks yet, and it just times out, and also potentially returns like invalid JSON. Can you comment on that?
We have to take a look. I haven't checked it, and probably no one took a look on this so far. Yeah, you mean the one you reported yesterday, right? On Nethermind Gnosis chat.
Yes, exactly. So there's this one, and then I also just got another report today of the Gnosis Play
On the
team.
same issue?
Sorry?
On the same issue?
Yes, well, a similar issue, at least with eat get logs. I'm not sure of the specifics. I will ask them to maybe create an issue or add to that. But yeah, Lukasz?
So I'm taking a look at the query. So there's a from block 0 to block latest. So we basically need to scan the whole log index from block 0 to block latest to do that right now, and that's why it probably times out.
Right. I mean, I also, in that specific query, I also tried with like actual starting block, but I mean, are events not like in a list that you can easily access all the time?
Not really.
I mean, is this a practical query?
No.
Yes.
Like querying the entire chain?
Yes.
So
that's why it turns out. No, not really. So events are under some Bloom filters, and they are stored in receipts, right? So we don't store them separately, and by receipts they are stored per block. So we don't have another index that would tell us where the events are for. So this is like the scanning the whole chain, and I don't think it will not know. Maybe some other clients have different internal implementation, but I haven't heard about one. I don't know how Erigon stores events. Maybe Erigon team can weigh in how it's being stored. But basically, this is scanning the entire chain, and it can time out. That's
right.
possible.
So on Nethermind, we'd have to do like maybe like scanning 10,000 blocks at a time or something.
Yeah,
and then...
that should work without a problem.
Okay. Because on Erigon,
I have one idea about improving our Bloom index, but that would improve this kind of scanning, but it's not implemented. It's only in my idea in the head, and I don't know if it's not high priority.
Yeah. So the only thing I can say is that on Erigon, it works like, I mean, it returns in a few milliseconds, so super quickly, even with like from 0. And on Girly, like with Infura, it also returns super quickly. So, yeah.
Okay, interesting. But Infura probably has its own indexes on that. Like it doesn't go to the node, I expect.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I have no clue about that.
So it's Omnat, right? Can you weigh in how Erigon handles this kind of large queries? Do you have a special data structure for it?
Yes, but I certainly cannot comment on that because I'm not sure what issue you're talking about.
So how Erigon works, if you have get logs from block 0 to block latest, right? Does it have some kind of index per address per block or something?
I'll have to check the code for that.
Okay, thank you.
Apologies. Yeah.
No worries. If you can like write up something in later, that would be cool. But it's expected for Nevermind that it can time out.
Okay, but also when it times out, I mean, in the request I sent, it sends like invalid JSON as a result, right?
So the potential problem with timing out is that, there is this potential issue that if you have a very big query and you try to scan it and it's not empty results, it has results, right? So it starts sending results because it's actually streaming them, right? So it starts streaming and then it times out, and then sometimes the JSON can be malformed, and I don't know how to fix it. But we don't want to cache this data by default, because then it can be a huge data set and the memory can blow up. Streaming this is like a lightweight way to do it. So it's like on one side we are already streaming JSON, on the other side it can blow up. Maybe we could just stop at that point, but then you don't have a indicator that it timed out, that you didn't get all the data, and it's also wrong. So there's like it's a like performance trade-off, right? That it can happen, this kind of thing, and I don't have a better way. There is a setting that you can set if you want to avoid it to on our JSON RPC to always cache the result before sending, so it disables the streaming. But then again, that can have another bad repercussions on performance and especially memory, right?
Right. So, for example, in the query I sent you yesterday, there's no results streaming, and then it just stops that object and sends a new one with the timeout.
Okay, but it started the object, and then it's okay. So when maybe if there are no, we can handle this edge case that they're non-stream, they're known. Okay, got it. Yeah, that probably we should handle that. Do not stream anything until we get the first result or something.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But I'm going to ask more. I asked the Gnosis Pay team if they have more information about that, because I know they are deploying. Gateway is deploying new Erigon nodes for specifically its get logs. That may also have other issues on Nethermind. Apparently, there's apparently regressions with 1.20 or 119. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I'll try to keep you up to date on that regard.
Okay, it would be good to have a good issue, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The regression, because we haven't found any ourselves, but we don't have that traffic as RPC operators, so maybe there is something.
Yeah, Anna, do you maybe have more information about that?
I don't have information from the Oli project on the exact get logs request to be precise. So if you can get it, or like,
Okay.
yeah, let's.
All right, I'll keep you up to date then.
Mhm.
Do you have, I mean, Nethermind, do you have other updates regarding your client?
No specific updates regarding the client. We started working with Carlos on a shadow fork. I'm not sure whether we'll make it for the actual hard fork, but as we're gonna need it for the future, we're gonna try it anyway. And also, I tried claiming withdrawals. I completely forgot last week you asked about it on Shadow. So yeah, we tried it at the very beginning where the contract was updated. It was fine, and yesterday I checked it again, and so it works just fine. Yeah, that's it. So now we're rechecking the once again the parameters configuration to make sure everything is correct. And yeah, probably that's all.
All right, yeah. Oh, sorry, Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, big thanks for fixing that concurrent requests issue. Too many concurrent requests was very nice.
You mean it's code?
investigation,
Yeah. Okay. You're welcome, guys.
Awesome. Yeah, there's also this like difference in bytecodes for the deposit contracts. I don't know if you've maybe had time to investigate this a bit more.
Could you repeat?
Like the differences between the bytecodes deployed on mainnet for the deposit contracts.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some tool inversion and difference, because I updated my nodes modules, and difference become like that decreased a lot, to say dramatically.
Okay.
There are still some differences, but I don't know. It's probably because some tooling difference there.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, at least
I took the file from the beacon scan or whatever the website called, that verified the bytecode. So it was absolutely the same one.
Okay, perfect then. Yeah, because I mean, I was able to verify it with a different machine, actually, I think, so that should not be a problem. And I mean, it's verified. It is the code we wanted it to be, so it should be all good, hopefully. All right. Erigon, do you have any updates?
I'm not sure if this was noted earlier. There was an issue syncing blocks from much older time in Gnosis. There was a bug that was fixed in the latest version, that is 2.48.1. So with that version, Gnosis sync for an archive node from all the way to all the way to the Genesis now works. So I think it was probably introduced in 2.46 or 2.47. So anybody using those versions might have this issue, but this issue does not prevent an up and running node syncing to the tip. So it is only for archive nodes who are starting with 2.47. But aside from that, I am working with Marcos to sort out issues for Hive test. He probably has made some changes to the Gnosis specific tests for Hive, and that is working with Nethermind and not with Erigon. I am currently looking into it and working with Marcos on that.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you. Guillaume, do you have updates for Geth?
Yeah, nothing big, unfortunately. But yeah, I talked to you and Martin last week in Paris. So I was able to identify that actually calling the contract works, or at least returns the expected results. But the problem now is that I'm not really sure why the the route is wrong. So I'm currently investigating this through several methods. Like I have several hypotheses. One of them is that somehow when I execute it's the most likely, when I execute the transaction, sorry, the system transaction at the end of the block, it actually does not save the state to the database. That would be that's the one I'm trying to investigate right now. Otherwise, yeah, like I got Erigon, like Andrew from Erigon is actually trying to get me some traces, like state this for the specific system transaction, because even though it returns the right result, it could be that it's not storing the state, like I was explaining. So hopefully that would simplify my that would help me hone in on what the problem really is. But yeah, Andrew was on holiday last week, so I don't have the traces yet. And otherwise, Gateway provided me with some Erigon archive node that I can compare the traces against. It's quite tedious, but so far, I mean, I don't think that's what the problem is, but it's quite easy to follow. So that's I'm just following the script. There's just the JSON traces. It's just that it takes a lot of time. But yeah, so most likely it's a problem of me saving the state at the end of the system transaction, but it needs to be confirmed. And yeah, we talked in Paris, Philippe. I have to send you something. I will package that today, and I will send it to you. And yeah, that's it.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So let's move on to the consensus layer side. So on Nimbus, we added Kiado, I mean, built in the client, because before that you had to do like the network and then mount the configs folder, whatever. Same thing for Lighthouse. So this PR was already accepted, I think. No, the Nimbus one was accepted and it's going to be merged soon. The Lighthouse one is still in review. For Prism, I started playing a bit again with it now that the hard fork is basically out of our hands. So it kind of works, I guess. So with the latest stable version, which is 4.0.7, at least when you start from a good checkpoint sync, but then it starts breaking. I'm not sure exactly when yet, but I'm presuming when something happens with like sync committees, because the preset values are not the same as for mainnet. And that's basically the issue. So Prism doesn't have the Gnosis presets, meaning that some, well, config variables are not right, and then at some point it just gets out of sync. So I'm working with them to kind of see which options we could have to implement this, because they don't want to integrate the Gnosis presets, but we might do something more generic to have like presets folders which you can dynamically load or something like that. So yeah, hopefully we're getting some progress done on Prism soon. Regarding Hive tests, do you have any news, Marcos?
The most biggest news is the progress that we have with Somnam on Erigon, that we are looking at the error, and we think that we found the source error in our private chat. So probably we will update on the channel as soon as we get it done. And also, please go over the page that I just posted here frequently, that are the Hive tests that we are running right now on our infra. So yeah, that's all.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Gateway. So let me start with the question. Was your deposit UI updated by chance?
From what I know, yes. We just need to test with one Geno. And it's still to be done.
Okay, perfect. And apart from that, do you have any updates?
Yeah, as I mentioned, with Nethermind, there was a very fruitful investigation and fix. Despite this, we anyway decided to also sync some Erigon nodes for mainnet non-archival, just to have some diversity at least. Yeah, nothing else that I can add here.
Awesome. Okay, I think we went through most of it. Now with Line, we've kind of been discussing about what's next for Gnosis Chain now that's while the hard fork is going to be done, I mean, by next week at least. Yeah, so we're going to start looking into like the next hard fork. Does someone here have any like maybe ideas or potential issues that could arise with Gnosis Chain because of incompatibilities, or maybe like shortened block times, for example, for EIP 4844 or something like that?
My biggest concern would be shorter block times because of the increased network traffic.
Right, yes. Yeah, do you see maybe any potential solutions for this?
Increase the block times.
Right. Okay, yeah. I mean, that might be something we have to look at, but I'm not sure how realistic it is at this point.
Would be good for the Plion and CL devs way in there, because this is mostly on their side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about this and questioning if we even need blobs at all, because currently there is no blob demand in Gnosis. So could we, on execution side, just set? Oh, well, you wanna disprove me, Martin?
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe first make your point, but I shouldn't comment. Yeah.
Okay, anyway, what I was saying is there are different initiatives in Ethereum that can affect our latency problems positively. The block time may change with different initiatives that could happen in a 1 to 2 years time frame potentially. And there is another initiative that could happen way sooner, but potentially in about 6 months, which changes the slot distribution. So the time that the block will take to propagate will be, I think, increased by 50%-ish. So if there is not an immediate demand to have blobs right now, we could start with a value of 0 blobs per block. And then whenever we need and we have these things and we do more testing and we know that it's safe in Gnosis case, we can increase to 1 or 2. The question I wanted to ask execution devs is the fee mechanism, as I understand, it's kind of a la 1559, where if the blobs, so if the blobs are at the maximum, then the fee increases exponentially, and otherwise it decreases. So for this reason, the blob count in Ethereum is an even number, say 2, 4, 6. What would happen if this number was, say, 1? Would that be an issue, or would the mechanics work?
I don't have the answer on the top of my head, but yeah, I don't know. Would have to look into the actual equation. It's like maths.
Okay, let's look it through the weeks.
Yeah, I can at least maybe high level comment that I absolutely expect there to be demand. So concrete 2 things. So the first one is yeah, kind of the layer 2 that we want to use, are planning to use for Gnosis, for Gnosis Pay, which we recently switched from Optimism Stack to kind of ZK Sync EVM. And right now, of course, sorry, not ZK Sync, Polygon ZK EVM. And right now they are kind of using essentially call data for data availability, but of course they will all, as soon as Ethereum ships 4844, then of course they will, as fast as possible, switch to using 4844. So to remain compatible with that tech stack, it's absolutely, we absolutely should have blobs on on Gnosis Chain, and I would actually argue this is one of the few things that make that will make Gnosis Chain then unique, because for other chains that decided to be EVM compatible but not go with beacon chain, for them it will be much harder, if not impossible, to offer for 844, while for us with beacon chain it should be possible. Regarding the bandwidth requirements, I don't really think longer block times are an option. But my understanding is we can certainly reduce the block number, or kind of essentially data load, and certainly pick a smaller number than Ethereum does, so that the overall data load is not higher.
Right, yeah. I agree that we should have this, even just to remain compatible with Ethereum, and diminish the size or whatever. And then maybe there was also this idea of changing, so when you build a block with the beacon chain, you have 4 seconds to build a block, 4 seconds for attestations, and 4 seconds for aggregations. So there was, on mainnet, so 1/3 for all of each, for the 3 options. And there was this idea of maybe making the block production and propagation a bit longer. So maybe on Gnosis, 3 seconds for block building and propagating, and then 1 second for attestations and 1 second for aggregations. Maybe that's also something we should look into. Basically to give us more time for larger blocks, but then it might also be an issue for...
This is what I was talking about. So this is a proposal for this.
Yeah.
But we cannot do that without the coordination of all consensus teams, and it's a huge thing. So doing it on our own is going to be very expensive.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Anything else, Lion?
Yeah, but I think it's best. I can write a doc with the different considerations, and we can talk it async. I think it's going to be better.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, no questions, no comments, then thanks for joining, and see you not next week for once, but on, is it Monday, the 1st? Well, see you for the hard fork event, which is on Tuesday.
Wait. There are hands.
Okay, Martin.
Yeah, it's nothing. Kind of immediately relevant. But I just wanted to kind of briefly mention it. So I created this doc that I shared here in the chat that at least lays out the perspective of how it could. I think there's recently the trend that other chains like Polygon, I think, announced it first that they would turn Polygon into a not exactly layer 2 kind of Validium, and then I think recently Cello did this at ECC, and again it's more probably still in the early thought experiment state, but I made a write up here laying out something that would essentially mean that Gnosis Chain, or the idea would be that Gnosis Chain remains a independent, kind of L1. So kind of you can still use your Nethermind node, your Erigon node, your maybe eventually Geth node, and so on to run the chain. But still, there would be a bridge contract that formally follows the rules of being an L2. And so then in theory, it's possible that Gnosis the L2 and Gnosis the L1 could diverge. So in theory, because the L1 client, of course, does not care about Ethereum and does not care about So in theory, again, it's possible that those two chains kind of diverge from each other or fork from each other. But it is set up, or you can in this document I set it up. But the idea is that if the chain behaves as expected, and as expected just means broadly three things. The chain never reorgs beyond finality. That's point one. The chain never produces invalid blocks, which, like, kind of by the definition, it cannot. Or I mean, like, a single client can never. Well, I mean, of course, there could be theoretically a bug, but an invalid block is always rejected. So that's two, and three. There is no large scale censorship. So that the transactions are not included over, let's say, a period of 100 blocks, even though they pay a sufficient fee and so on. So if those three things are given, then essentially the result would be the same. So we would, it would end in the exactly same state. So kind of one way to think about it is to say, okay, Gnosis remains in L1, but has essentially the same security guarantees as in L2. So in the absolute unlikely event that kind of, I don't know, the majority of Ethereum, of Gnosis Chain validators somehow form an evil cartel and suddenly start to, I don't know, 2/3 of them start to attest to invalid blocks or something like that. Only in this case, essentially those two, Gnosis EL1 and Gnosis EL2, would diverge from each other. And in that case, kind of users through the bridge contract would be protected and could eventually get their funds out of it. So again, it's very, so far theoretical concept, but just wanted to at least mention it or share it here.
Awesome. Yeah, I haven't had enough time to look into this yet, but I will for sure after this call. All right, anything else? Well, thanks everyone for joining, and see you on Tuesday.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.